Moses led an entire nation out of slavery. He spoke with God face to face. He received the law on Mount Sinai. Yet his own sons, Gershom and Eliezer, virtually vanish from Scripture. In a culture where leadership almost always passed from father to son, Moses' descendants never led Israel. They never held the priesthood. The Bible barely mentions them. So what happened, and why did God let it happen? Gershom and Eliezer. These are the two sons of Moses, and their stories begin far from the crowds and miracles of Egypt. Both boys were born in the land of Midian, where Moses lived as a foreigner after fleeing Pharaoh. Their mother, Zipporah, was the daughter of Jethro, the priest of Midian, a respected leader outside the tribes of Israel. When Moses and Zipporah welcomed their first son, Moses named him Gershom. The name means a stranger there, and it captured exactly how Moses felt, an outsider in a land not his own. In Exodus chapter 2, verse 22, Moses says, "I have been a stranger in a strange land." Gershom's name became a living reminder of Moses' years in exile. Separated from his people and his past. Later, Moses and Zipporah had a second son, Eliezer. His name means, "My God is help." The reason behind the name is found in Exodus chapter 18, verse 4, where Moses says, "The God of my father was my help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh." For Moses, Eliezer's name was a testimony to God's rescue and faithfulness. Both sons were raised in Midian, far from the land of Egypt and the future home of Israel. Their mother's heritage as Midianites set them apart from the rest of the Israelites. The Bible mentions them only a few times, always in connection with their parents and their place of birth. Gershom and Eliezer never step into the spotlight as adult leaders or priests. Instead, their names and origins quietly echo Moses' journey from exile to deliverance. But in a culture where sons often inherited their father's role, why do Gershom and Eliezer remain on the sidelines? What kept the sons of Moses from taking center stage in Israel's story? In ancient Israel, everyone knew how authority was supposed to work. Leadership, property, and even priestly duties usually passed from father to son. The firstborn son received a double share of inheritance, and family names were carried forward through the male line. This was not just a social habit, it was the law. Deuteronomy spells out the rights of the firstborn, and the entire system of tribes and clans relied on patrilineal descent. The expectation was simple. If a man led his people, his sons would lead after him. This pattern shaped daily life and national identity. Tribal chiefs, judges, and kings almost always traced their roles through their fathers. Even in neighboring cultures, dynasties and priesthoods were built on bloodlines, reinforcing the idea that greatness should run in the family. So when Moses became the central figure of Israel's story, a prophet, lawgiver, and national leader, people would have assumed his sons would follow in his footsteps. But the biblical record breaks that pattern. Instead of Moses' sons, it is Aaron, Moses' brother, whose descendants are chosen for the priesthood. Exodus and Numbers are explicit. God appoints Aaron and his sons, not Moses' children, to serve as priests. This was not an accident or a family dispute. The text emphasizes that the priesthood is a permanent office for Aaron's line, set apart by divine command. Meanwhile, Gershom and Eliezer, though listed among the Levites, never receive a special office or public role. This contrast is striking. In a world where inheritance was everything, the sons of Moses, of all people, are quietly sidelined. Why would the Bible break with such a deeply rooted tradition? Was it a matter of their mother's Midianite heritage or something else entirely? The answer lies in what Scripture actually says about who gets to serve and why. So what does the Bible reveal about the fate of Moses' family? And how did Aaron's line become the keepers of Israel's holiest duties? The Bible gives Gershom and Eliezer only a handful of appearances, and each one is brief. In Exodus chapter 4, as Moses prepares to return to Egypt, the text says, he takes his wife and his sons along for the journey. The story pauses for a puzzling incident. At a roadside inn, God confronts Moses, and Zipporah quickly circumcises one of their sons to avert disaster. The passage does not even name which son is involved, and the moment passes as quickly as it appears. Later, in Exodus chapter 18, the boys are named outright when Moses' father-in-law Jethro brings Zipporah and the two sons to reunite with Moses in the wilderness. Here, the text explains the meaning behind each name. Gershom, I have been a foreigner in a foreign land, and Eliezer, my God, was my help and delivered me from Pharaoh. These verses underline their identity, but offer no details about their lives or actions. The next and final mention comes much later, in 1 Chronicles chapter 23. As King David organizes the Levites for temple service, Gershom and Eliezer are listed as the sons of Moses, and their descendants, Shebuel and Rehabiah, are named as heads of family groups. This genealogical record places Moses' line among the Levites, but it stops short of granting them any special status or priestly office. Across all these passages, the pattern is clear. Gershom and Eliezer are recorded, not erased, but always on the margins. Their names surface just enough to confirm their existence, yet never with the weight or attention their father received. Why does Scripture keep their story so minimal, especially when other leaders' sons are given far more space? The answer lies in how the Bible treats the question of who gets to lead and why. Scripture spells out the answer with unmistakable clarity. In Exodus chapters 28 and 29, God commands Moses to set apart Aaron, his brother, and Aaron's sons for the priesthood. The instructions are detailed and direct. Aaron and his sons are to be clothed, anointed, and consecrated to serve as priests. The text does not leave room for debate. It repeats the command. Only Aaron's family is given the right to offer sacrifices and enter the sanctuary. The priesthood is described as a perpetual statute, a lasting office for Aaron's descendants alone. Numbers chapter 3 reinforces this arrangement. The entire tribe of Levi is set apart for service, but the priestly duties are reserved for Aaron and his sons. The Levites, Moses' own family included, are given to Aaron as helpers, not as priests. Numbers 18 draws a hard line. It says, "You and your sons and your family with you shall bear the iniquity connected with the sanctuary." The rest of the Levites have important roles, but the altar and the holiest tasks belong to Aaron's line. Even within the tribe of Levi, there is a deliberate division. Numbers 4 describes how the Kohathites, Gershonites, and Merarites each have different responsibilities for the tabernacle. Moses' descendants are included among the Levites, but the priesthood is not theirs. The Bible's legal texts are consistent. God's choice, not family tradition, determines who serves as priest. The sons of Moses are honored in the record, but the priestly office is reserved for Aaron's family by divine command. But if the priesthood was so exclusive, what became of Moses' descendants in Israel's later history? Genealogies in the Bible are never just lists of names, they serve a purpose. When the chronicler includes Gershom and Eliezer in 1 Chronicles, it is not to set up a forgotten dynasty. Their brief appearance underlines something deeper. Leadership among God's people does not always follow family lines. Even as the descendants of Moses are counted among the Levites, the text holds back from giving them a starring role. Later Jewish and Christian writers keep this pattern. Josephus, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the Talmud all mention Moses' sons only in passing, if at all. No ancient source tries to build a priestly legacy out of their names. This is not an oversight or cover-up. It is a deliberate choice that runs through the entire biblical story. The priesthood is given to Aaron's family by God's own command, not by accident or tradition. The genealogies are selective, highlighting the lines that matter for God's unfolding plan. Moses' sons are remembered, but their legacy is not leadership. It is a reminder that calling outweighs ancestry. The message is clear. In Scripture, privilege does not guarantee purpose. God's call defines the path, not the family tree. For anyone who has ever wondered if background or birth determines their future, the story of Moses' sons offers a quiet but powerful answer. Today, even the briefest biblical details remind us God's purposes do not always follow our expectations or family lines. Leadership in Scripture and in life is about calling, not inheritance. Sometimes the smallest stories reveal the biggest truths. If you liked this video, please make sure to like and subscribe.